I hadn't thought of that. And, I grew up in New York, so I'm very familiar. I grew up in the Bronx. I went to Binghamton for my undergraduate. So, I'm very familiar with the New York area and moved out here. And unlike New York City, where you have like a ton of law schools within a very, small geographical area, here I am in Arkansas, and in the entire state, there are only two law schools, both of them public. I'm not too far from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there's a law school there. But Steve, in my situation, literally geographically, there are slim pickings. You know what I mean? And but I do like the idea of maybe applying to one or two other places nearby, and relatively nearby. And obviously, I'm not going to commute 2 hours each way to go there. But potentially even just to kind of say, hey, Tulsa offered me this package, whatever. But I am geographically limited. I mean, that is a real concern. And I do think, from what I've heard, that Arkansas, being a state school, and their tuition is comparatively not, terrible compared to these like private schools. But the main thing with them is that if you have the numbers, they will give you, scholarship money, and in my particular case, I completed my undergraduate degree over 20 years ago. I have like a 3.4. So it's okay, but it's not stellar, but it's solid. I took a challenging major and stuff like that. But I really do think, for me, if I could score in that one mid-50 range, and maybe I shouldn't set my sights lower. I mean, I hear your story. I read your story. A year, and you were very honest about your trials and tribulations. I mean, of going through this and things that you would do differently if you had to do it again. But you did the blood, sweat, and tears route for a year. And the result was that 175, I believe, something like that. Yeah. From my vantage point, I don't know if that's attainable, but I think if I could score in the 160s, mid 160s, that would secure a good bit of money, and not necessarily a full one, but it would secure, because I think they're 75 percentile LSAT. When I looked at the report, I think it's the 509 report for 2020. It's like a 159. So, I think anything over the 160s would definitely secure admission. But the question becomes, if I know if I applied there with like a high 160 something, that there would be some scholarship money, because that would be so high above their 75 percentile LSAT ranking. But yeah, those are
certainly. Yeah. Don't ever limit yourself. One of my roles as a coach is to push you to remove those self-imposed limits and help you to dream bigger. I mean, it took me a year, and you don't have a year. You said June or July, which is fine. You can take it in June or July and still apply at the very beginning of the cycle in the fall. And speaking now in mid-February, that gives you approximately 4, maybe 5 months. And I know you've been following me for quite a while. Yes. That's enough time to make anything happen, given your prior exposure to and background with the LSAT and admissions. And then, of course, getting into the nitty-gritty of things with my course. But you can certainly get to the high 160s or beyond in 4 to 5 months. And you also could take it in August or September if you wanted to. And they haven't released the exact dates yet, right, but you could take it then and still apply at the very beginning of the cycle. And applying early actually matters a lot less than it used to, given how things have changed over time, given, on the one hand, a recent decline in the number of applicants. And now it's higher, the number of applicants is higher, but we're also during COVID. So COVID, of course, is a randomization factor where it has all sorts of implications that may or may not last long term. But applying early regardless doesn't matter as much as it used to. Secondly, you also spoke about the geographic factor, the geographic limitation as well. And so I also want to problematize that a little bit by thinking, well, can we remove that limit as well? I'm not suggesting that your family move or anything, but online education during COVID, you said your kids are doing school virtually. Who knows how long COVID will last? I mean, vaccinations are rolling out, but that could take a while. And it's going to have long-term effects where you could potentially do the majority or possibly all of law school online if the ABA changes its policies, which there's a lot of pressure to do. So you may have a lot of different options available for law school, not just Arkansas or Tulsa, Oklahoma, and 2-hour-long commutes and such. You may be able to do a lot online, and then there are people who will relocate temporarily just for a week or two periodically to do whatever in-person requirements there are. But all of this is very much up in the air. But regardless, schools are aware of that, and you could apply to a wider variety simply for the negotiation leverage. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.